Wśród pięknych pól Flandrii, w gościnnej, cudownej Belgii, znajduje się to oto Polish Canadian War Museum, czyli Polsko-Kanadyjskie Muzeum Wojny, prowadzone przez niezwykłego człowieka, pana Gilberta van Lanschot, który własnymi siłami stworzył je w roku 1994. Tytaniczną, horrendalną wręcz pracą zdobył setki mundurów, artefaktów, broni. Zbudował modele całych bitew, które Wam za chwilę pokażemy. Pan Gilbert zgodził się być naszym gospodarzem dzisiaj, naszym przewodnikiem i za chwilę zobaczycie jedno z najbardziej nieprawdopodobnych prywatnych muzeów na świecie. Pan von Lanschot prowadzi dodatkowo taką akcję edukacyjną, ponieważ zachodnie społeczeństwo i młodzież nie mają w ogóle pojęcia o takich sprawach jak kto rozpoczął II wojnę światową, kto to był Ribbentrop, kto to był Mołotow. Nawet nie wiedzą, kto to był ten z wąsami, znaczy Stalin. Opowiada im o Katyniu, wyświetla im filmy, tłumaczy dokumenty i książki na język niderlandzki. I za chwilę tego niezwykłego człowieka poznacie, a on opowie Wam o tym, jak stworzył to muzeum i co i w jaki sposób uzyskał wszystkie eksponaty, które w nim się znajdują. Jesteśmy w Belgii, w ogóle we Flandrii, w Polsko-Kanadyjskim Muzeum Wojennym, prywatnym muzeum, które założył własnym wysiłkiem pan Gilbert von Lanschot, który nas tutaj po angielsku na szczęście oprowadzi i opowie nam, dlaczego w ogóle założył to muzeum. So, first the most important question, why did you start this museum at all? And when was that?
Yeah. In 1994, my father tanks alive under Canadian and Polish soldiers in the Second World War. My father was a spy, sabotaging many German bombers. And 11 September 1944, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, controlled the Gestapo, Waffen-SS, house on house, far killed my father. But the soldiers pushed the Germans to the underside of the canals. Thus my father hangs alive under Canadian and Polish soldiers.
So your father was spying for the Allies,
yeah,
against the occupiers, against Germans, and they arrested him. Yes, Gestapo.
Yeah, but they arrested not my father. My father was a long time ago.
So they were trying to get him, but they didn't manage because Polish troops liberated the city. So they saved his life
and pushed the Germans away.
So this is why you have this sentiment for the especially
Polish. Met the 50 years Liberation Day, everybody had a dream. In Europe, was a dream. Any museum was Americans, British, of Germans, but everybody forget the liberators. The eight liberators is the Canadians and the Polish division. It was not in the books.
First Armored Division.
Yeah, and sea liberation, the Flanders fields. But not everybody speak over. It was only propaganda. And they say, you lie, stop the lies. I go to the radio and television and say to the people, have your artifacts. We bring them to me and we build a museum.
So the people had, for example, in the attic, some weapons, some uniforms.
Weapons, uniform, everything was in the houses. Machine guns, mortars, everything what you can dream was in the houses. When the people closed the mount, 50 years long was the propaganda Americans and not of Poland. And I say I built a museum of Poland and it was crazy. Everybody say, man, you're crazy.
Because the Soviets make them keep their mouths shut.
Yeah, and there's only the King of Belgium pushed me the hand on my head and say, you do it. Right?
So
and nobody help you.
The
King of Belgium.
His Majesty the King told you to do that.
Do that. No money I pay anything self. The government will not help me. You understand? She will not see the eagle. The eagle, no interested. But the people marry here. The soldiers marry here with the Flemish girl. You can see here, okay? The girl. See? Any soldier marry here with the Flemish girl.
So, the first thing that we can see here is the Polish soldiers from the 1st Armored
Yeah,
Division,
third, yeah. Fight here in the Flanders.
commanded by General,
General Maciek, yeah.
Stanisław
Yeah,
Maciek.
Maciek.
And they are their characteristic berets
Berets.
that are black.
This is
This
the original
the Black
berets, yeah,
Division.
yeah.
And today, the Black Division
Yeah.
is also, it still lives in
Yeah,
Polish
yeah,
army,
yeah,
and they have also one black
Yes. Emblem.
yeah. So these are the original
Yes.
uniforms from 1944.
1944, 42. Most than 22 was in the training camps in United Kingdom, training the Polish soldiers
In Scotland.
in Scotland, and they come in 44 in Belgium. Go to
So
the
they liberated the part of the Belgium,
Yeah.
then
Holland.
the Netherlands,
Yeah.
Breda,
Germany and Breda,
then
and
ended in
Germany.
Wilhelmshaven.
and then stop once the border was closed.
Yes, and then they were not allowed to return
And nobody will have
to
it.
their home.
And the Polish soldiers come return here to the Netherlands and to Belgium.
And most of them had to stay forever in Scotland, like General Maciek.
Yeah,
So we can see the private first class.
yeah,
This is sergeant. In Polish, this is starszy kapral.
yeah. Corporal,
This is second lieutenant.
yeah. And the
And the corporal again.
corporal, yeah. That's the names here. This is the man. This is a lieutenant. Eh? The daughter was here 2 weeks back.
Tadeusz Blentek,
Blentek.
porucznik rezerwy.
Yeah.
Pierwsza polska dywizja pancerna, 11 kompania saperów, 10 pułk piechoty. Yes, and the Polish, this is called 11th Armored Cavalry Division.
cavalry, yeah.
This is the same emblem.
Yeah.
You know? This is their sign until now.
Yeah. There's the
But
rifle.
now they use Leopard tanks.
Yeah, you know, the rifles was in the houses from the farmery. The son, the Canadian, the Polish soldier marry here, and met the Flemish girl, he had machine guns, rifles was in the house. Eh? Nobody said, was he one Poland soldier or 3 German machine guns with 15,000 bullets?
for several years. So this is the British Bren,
Yeah.
I guess, machine
Yeah,
gun.
British and Canadian Lee Enfield. Eh?
This is the Lee Enfield,
Lee
rifle
Enfield, yeah.
with the bayonet.
The spike bayonets. Eh? And here it is the Polish insignias. Eh?
O, tutaj widzicie insygnie, jakie nosili na swoim umundurowaniu. Dokładnie taki sam ma dzisiejsza 11. Dywizja Kawalerii Pancernej z Żagania. Jak widzicie tutaj, to są te skrzydła husarskie. This sign, you know, this wing and
Yeah.
this helmet
Yeah,
is from the 17th century when Polish knights.
see here, right? Can you see that?
Yeah, this is exactly
Yeah.
what
Yes,
it
exactly.
looked like during the war against Sweden
Yeah, for the panic.
and Russia.
Yeah, the panic.
And their long spikes, you
Yeah.
know, 5 meters long. So that's our
This every week come
heritage.
people met artifacts. Every week, eh? Come the people to me with insignias, rifles, uniform, barrette.
So they still appear and bringing to you.
Yesterday was here a man met a mantle of Polish. Everybody come to be with us first. Ze moet have a respect for you, what you do. And I been the first museum here, was the first museum in Europe for the Polish eagle, and nobody will see that.
In 1994.
In 94, everybody said to me, "Your man is crazy, he built a museum for Poland. Crazy man." No, zeg, you forget it. The reality. Huh? And the weapons was in the houses, eh? From the people. Eh? I'm not collectioner. Eh?
So was it illegal in Belgium to keep the rifle
No.
and the live ammunition at home?
No, it was not correct.
So
Maar I have a museum with special papers and the registration, the weapons.
did you have to call the police and get their
And the government to control it.
permission?
Yeah. I have a list in a book. I write any rifle and pistol in the book. Eh?
So this is the Sten machine
Sten gun.
This is British.
Yeah.
Browning automatic rifle,
Yeah.
bigger caliber. So most of those weapons have been seen in
Yes, many weapons.
many
Many
films,
weapons. Oh, many films.
and war games
Yeah.
and others. This is a submachine gun,
And sniper rifles, everything is there.
sniper Garand rifle,
Yeah.
and this Bren light machine gun for the infantry.
It's different Leonfields. Eh?
So this is also the Polish.
That is Canadian. Here is
Yeah,
it's
they
Canadian.
have
Upstairs is the yeah.
They have those characteristic
Yeah.
hats.
The hats, the helmet.
The Scottish origin.
Original, yes. Nobody understands that the machine gun was in the house with the farmer. Eh? The Polish soldier married met a girl of the farmer, and he bring the rifles and machine guns to the farm and stop away. And 50 years later, I build a museum, and the people come to me, I have a machine gun for you. Oh my crazy, a machine
Still
gun.
working. Still
Yeah, working, yeah?
So this Vickers.
Yes, the Vickers machine gun, and the Browning 30, and here's the Lewis, is the Boys anti-tank, and the mortar, I have 3 mortars here, and 3 mortars upstairs. And the Brin Carriers was in the ground, eh?
This is the famous carrier vehicle
Yeah, that's the Brin
for the recon. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see, have a second.
This is the closer
Yeah,
one.
see? See, met de Browning 50, normaal is dat not there. De Polish had not there, maar
Half of the inch
yeah,
caliber. The biggest machine gun.
yeah, the biggest. And the people bring me that machine gun. I have a souvenir for you. Machine
But
gun.
are those bullets? Is this live ammunition or
Yeah.
is it just?
The red is ammunition. Red is the fire line. Mijn bullet, the bullet, it has a fire line, and the red bullet is the fire line.
Yes, but is this a live ammunition?
Yeah, maar demontation ammunition.
But without powder inside.
Ja, no put erin. Moest hier fire, my museum is go. Hey, many soldiers, many airplanes, Lancaster bombers, crash here. And the people demontation in electronica.
Yes, but I saw that you have Polish crew of the Lancaster,
Yeah.
and we can focus on them.
Yeah, that's Canadian crew. We go now upstairs to see for the Polish.
But there are Scottish.
That's yeah. Now,
Scots.
yes, in the years 1700, pushed Britain many Scottish regiments to Canada. And they come return in the first and the second war, and the assembly of the Canadians at Canada.
So these are Canadian
That's Canadian,
soldiers,
yes,
but
yeah.
of Scottish origin.
Yeah, original from the year 1700. That's the clan. There's a clan, eh? Mm-hmm. There's the Glencairn clan. Come in.
So now we're on the second
Poli-
floor
yeah,
of the
yeah,
museum.
yeah.
What's special about this place?
Is only the Polish soldiers.
This is the maple
This the
leaf.
Canadian the Polish soldiers fight under the Canadian commando. Huh? See, that's the eagle is up the Canadian flag.
So the first armored division,
Yes,
Polish, was under the
Canadian commando, not British. No American will have in the Polish division.
there
They
was
say there's the Polish
I
is
understand.
the Gibsons.
there was a famous battle of Falaise,
Yeah,
where Polish troops were saved
yeah.
by the Canadians.
Canadian commando, yeah,
Yeah,
on the Greyhound.
during the battle with Waffen-SS division. Now I understand.
Can see that's the Valais. I make the Valais. See the impulse of Valais. That's the Polish division role in the Battle of Valais.
So you made it.
Yeah, I made this self, yeah.
with your bare hands.
Yes, in my free time.
And there's this battle of Falaise.
Valais. Yes, I have here movies of the Battle of Valais. Can you see here? And voilà. The battle of in English. And come in English. I have it in Polish. Voilà, in Polish.
Chodźcie, zobaczycie tutaj.
Aha.
Tu jest po polsku wszystko napisane, jakbyście chcieli.
You can see Polish.
Tu pan zrobił polskie, widzicie, bitwa o kieszeń. Who translated this?
Yes, I do my best.
Very, very good translation. So let's focus on these models.
Yeah.
We can see here the most famous
Yeah.
tanks. This is the Tiger 1,
Yeah, the Tiger 1.
Panzerkampfwagen 4, Panzer 2, and this is a tank destroyer.
Yeah. There's the
Wolverine.
Achilles M10.
But outside the museum,
Is
there
it-
is a Wolverine.
Is
tank
een
destroyer.
tankjäger. Een tankjäger of the here Achilles. There's an Achilles M10. The
This is Churchill tank, right?
yeah, Churchill tank. Yeah. For the flamethrower.
Ah, flamethrower.
That's a flamethrower. Eh?
It took a lot of time, I guess, to prepare.
Oh, crazy. That's what I do. See, here's the house, the headquarters of the Germans. I made the headquarters, correct, eh? See? Out pictures, make him. And the headquarters of the Germans is up 2,000 meters.
Ah, this is the headquarters of the German
Yes, the
troops.
Germans. The castle was here, up 2,000 meters. 2 kilometers was here. And there was the German had big...
Is this exists?
Yes,
this
there.
building?
No, it's not. You can see that. See, and in the forest of the castle was the German real guns. The 70 centimeter and the 42 centimeter was there. Here was the danger village, eh? The people was here and the collaborators, eh? It was black village, eh? Hitlerstrasse, Göringstrasse, Himmlerstrasse.
That's why they choose it for their
Yeah.
headquarters.
Yeah, and this is the Flanders fields, eh? You can see the fields of Flanders, eh? It's many water, huh? And the Germans closed the sluices and the water was voot over the country. Thousands hectares. You see the canals and the water. And you see the movie of Poland, you can see.
So you can choose the language.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the people do understand what she do with her. Who come the war?
Who started it?
Yeah.
That was Hitler
Yeah.
and Stalin all together.
91. It. I open the eyes of the people van tell the good information. Yeah,
Yeah, but I am fascinated by those models.
Yeah.
The Panther tank.
Yeah.
Panzerkampfwagen 5. The Elephant or Ferdinand tank
Ferdinand
destroyer.
tanks, yeah.
The heavy mortar Karl.
the mortar, the special mortar.
And the König Tiger tank.
Yeah, king. Yeah.
Extremely
I tell who come on the one side Germany, on the other side Russia, eh, in Poland.
Because people in Western Europe have no idea.
Yeah. Nobody understands. Many children of the school come here, and the teacher don't know that. Ik say, that is the revolution of the spell.
Yeah, you're making very good.
And I
job
see here
about
the
this.
murder of Katyn, eh? The murders of Katyn. The propaganda was here in 1941, and nobody understands it.
Yes, the Russian told us that it was just German fault.
The Belgian Waffen-SS pushed the Flemish boys for fighting in Russia in 1941, in the meantime of the murder of
But
Katyn.
were there the volunteers?
Yeah, volunteers.
So they wanted to join the Waffen-SS.
That's it. See, there's allemaal pilots, eh? Many pilots marry here met Flemish girls, eh?
So these are Polish
Polish, yes, Polish.
pilots and their original
Originals, eh?
uniforms.
And that's in two Italian. Here was the German airfield, and on the airfield of the Germans was the Italian pilots.
In German
In the Germans, eh? And there is it, eh? Can you see, eh? The brand uniform is a ship pilot. Uniform of Germany is blue, cobalt blue. Here you see it, Brun.
This is uniform of the navigator of the Avro Lancaster,
Yeah, Lancaster.
the heaviest British bomber.
The people bring not the uniform completely at one time. No. First the helmet, a year later maybe the belt, then later the shoe. Stop, not in 1 second. Eh? Not,
So it took a lot of time to complete
oei,
the
dat
complete
is,
uniform.
oei, 10 years.
And now we are 29 years
29,
after you started this.
Start every day, come people to me with, I have something's reserved for you. Bring me.
Pay attention to this jacket.
The jacket.
There was very must be very cold at 10,000 meters.
Yes, maar ze had electro-shoes.
Heated shoes.
Yes, 6 volt. It was, I said, no, it's a min 30 grades, no problem for the pilots. Kijk,
And
shoes,
the-
kijk, zie je de grades? In the shoe. And the foot was warm.
Yeah, those Italians have funny eyeglasses.
Yeah.
So what's next?
Oh yeah, come see. Non-stop. Non-stop souvenirs. The Germans bring here 17,000 hectares ground, 1 meter high on the water to stop the Polish army. And the general have the commander on the boys, we go to the water. You see?
On foot.
Yeah, on foot and with small boats. Ship, with a small ship.
Ah, on these small boats.
Yeah.
And they had to row.
Yeah, go to the water. And this very important, what can you see here? Normal is the soldiers have 2 packets here, one for the bullets and one for the grenades. Any soldier go to the water with different munition. For the rifle, the Springfield, the Leonfield, bullets for the .30, for the grenades, the Sten, the Bren. 32 kilos ammunition.
Each of them.
Yeah, one per soldier.
And the mortar shells.
Je mortar voor de 2-inch mortier.
Yeah, and hand grenades.
Yeah. Dus the boy go to the water. That's the only place what they do there. And the ateliers here make that for the soldiers. For the water.
And even they have food rations.
Yeah, chocolate.
Chocolate and soylent sweet biscuits.
Everything was there.
So this is the boat, the light boat
The light boats.
they used.
This is the first tech, and then with the big machine guns go to the first, and then comes later with on the water.
So this was the first one for the protection
Yeah.
with the biggest machine gun,
Yeah.
half inch.
Browning 450 power. The people bring me that. Have not that pay for money. The people bring me as souvenirs.
Yeah. We can see the Polish captain
Yeah.
with the typing machine.
Type machine make the papers for the general.
Yeah,
and the information.
like orders.
Orders and for the day books.
And today the captain has 4 stars, and the three of them has the,
3 stars.
the lieutenant.
Yeah.
But then the second lieutenant had 1 star only.
Yeah.
And this is the
I present what
one Polish soldier, Sergeant Jan Jaworski.
Yeah.
He stayed in the Netherlands.
Yes.
In Belgium.
In Belgium, yeah, and later in the Netherlands, and the family bring now the medals of him.
He was arrested by the NKWD and sent to the Siberia, and then rescued by General Anders' army. This is typical story. of the
Many stories all over. We make the stories more and more for the people, and we do it now later with.
We can see the generals.
Yeah. Yeah.
The General Maciek uniform.
Yeah, the General Maciek.
Yeah, the brigade general.
Yeah. Later at the 2 stars. It's in the beginning of the 1 star.
Division general.
Yeah.
So this is his original.
This is original. It's original.
We have one original General Maciek uniform in Polish Museum in Poznań.
Yeah.
We also made a film about
Yeah,
it.
but it's a service dress.
Yes, and
This the battle dresses.
This is the second
Yeah.
original.
Yeah.
Original.
That's the
uniform.
battle dress is here. The battle dress come via Kaipus. Kaipus was the right hand of him. And many
His
times,
deputy.
yeah, and many times come Kaipus return to Belgium to the remember days of the cemeteries, and was non-stop friend with him. And Kaipus and General Maciek had the dream, we will have a museum of the Polish division, but no government will have that.
Because General Maciek died in the same year as you started this museum.
Yeah.
At the age 102.
Yeah, 902.
And he lies in Breda with his fellow soldiers.
Of the cemetery. Here, there's a machine gun, everything is there. Mortars, here, see the big mortar? The 3-inch?
Small caliber.
Yes, 2-inch.
The,
That's for
the
that-
lightest mortars.
Yeah, that's the 2-inch mortar on the soldier in the hand. And there's
Yes,
a 3-inch.
It should be light to be carried by the one soldier.
What the people me bring in, I present it. You understand? Okay, just
Yeah.
like that. Eh?
I like this photo of General Maczek
Yeah.
sitting on the turret of the Cromwell tank.
Cromwell
I guess.
tank, yeah.
Yes. We have this tank in Polish Museum in Poznań also.
Yeah. But I have no big museum. I have our own museum with small things. Eh?
But this is the most impressive museum I have ever seen.
You would understand, any souvenir come at the hands of the people. You understand it? That's important. It come here at the
Everything
heart.
we can see here
Yeah,
is brought here
Yeah.
by the citizens of this land.
yeah. They come at the heart. You understand it? The people close to
They
50.
kept it for 50 years or 60 years.
Stop away, 50 years long, and nobody speak over. Nobody speak. And
But
then
they didn't throw it out.
yeah, and then come the museum, and everybody come to here. It was the Pelgrimstochten. Every day it was 100 of people with souvenirs.
How many visitors do you have per year?
Next year was 50,000 visitors in a year. It was a big, yeah.
50,000.
Yes. Every
That's
day
impressive.
was here 10, 50 autocars at many places of the world.
Is the museum open today?
Yeah, it is. Museum is open. Afternoon, come many people here to look at the museum. I have a dance teacher.
Yeah,
my
I
daughter
saw.
I have a dance school. Why? Maciej have the command of the boys. Communication with the girls is very important for winning the war. And many days, the British American fly with the bombers over the town city, drop the bombs, they destroy everything. The Polish officer have the command here, liberation, house on house, street to street, push the Germans in the fields, and we fight in the fields, but not in the towns.
That was the difference
Yeah.
between Polish and other allies.
Yeah, yeah.
They first destroyed the city and they liberated
Yeah.
it, and Polish troops saved the houses
Yeah,
and the life of the...
and got good contact with the people and good information. Once she danced with the girls, dancing is
So
good communication.
The intelligence
Yeah.
is also important.
See, when the people tell the Polish division, there is snipers there, Germans, there's machine guns of the snipers there, the communication is very important.
So they had good intel
Yeah.
because of their contacts with the girls.
Yeah, the girls is the girls is the key of the war.
Ja. I tutaj jeszcze musimy zwrócić uwagę na jedną rzecz, to jeszcze nie związane z Polską. To jest model. Did you do that also?
Yeah.
Pan Gilbert sam zrobił model największego dzieła w historii ludzkości. To jest niemieckie dzieło kolejowe Schwerer Gustav, albo inaczej Dora. Gustav, bo tak miał nazwisko na imię Krupp, szef firmy, która to wykonała. 4 tory musiały być zbudowane, żeby ten potwór powstał. 1300 żołnierzy dowodzonych przez pułkownika i tylko raz wziął udział w działaniach wojennych pod Sewastopolem. They use it at Sevastopol,
Yeah,
on the
that's the
Crimea.
Polish.
Yeah. So they had to build the 4 trucks,
Yeah.
2 for the gun itself and 2 for the cranes
Yeah.
to mantle all this. 3 weeks. 3 weeks it took.
1,200 men needed for make that.
Yeah, Hitler was crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy German ideas. But you have also Soviet tanks.
No, not too much, but I have a girl.
The famous Soviet tanks, KW-2, which means Kliment Voroshilow, and T-44, and this is KW-1, the earliest version of KW-2, and the tank destroyer Su-122, I guess. There are plenty of them in Polish museums.
Oh, yeah.
You know why?
Yes, she was
Because
there.
the Soviets stayed in our country.
She was in your country, eh?
Yeah, this is fascinating.
And the last day of the war, bring the Germans the uniforms and rifles and machine guns to the collaborators. You understand the collaborator?
The traitors.
Yeah. Ze work samen met de Germans. And the last day of the war, they montage the clothes and montage a civil uniform and fly away to Germany. And everything was in the houses.
So they left in panic when they were fleeing.
And nobody speak over. Tot I built a museum, kwam people to me, I finding in the farm rifles.
So this is a MG42 machine gun. The most,
1,200 bullets in 1 minute. 5,000 meters.
it's still used in Leopard tanks.
Yeah.
It's a perfect gun.
The transmitters, everything was here.
But this collection of models is stunning for me. Stunning.
Many.
Most of them we know from the computer games, you know. The anti aircraft self-propelled guns,
Falling.
the rocket launchers.
Russia and the filter. The Tundra of Russia is 1941, eh? Operation Barbarossa.
Barbarossa operation. Yeah.
You make that have too much imaginations. Have you not imagination, you cannot make that.
Yeah, you can recreate in your imagination the view of the Russian village,
That's what I do.
far on the east. Yeah, the Katyusha rocket launchers, KW tanks, and the German attacking here.
Big
You have even the Russian signs, za Stalina. Very funny, but true.
Oh, okay.
If he didn't make this sign, he would have get killed
Oh,
as a traitor. They had to do that because they had to love Stalin most of all, more than his family. If he didn't love Stalin, you get killed.
oh yeah.
It's in all totalitarian countries.
War stop never, you understand it? Then 1,000 years is war.
Dziękujemy panu Gilbertowi za to, że po pierwsze, że nas tu zaprosił dzisiaj i oprowadził, a po drugie, że stworzył to muzeum.
Yes.
Thank you for hosting us here on Sunday, and most of all, thank you for creating this
And I
wonderful thing.
And I thank you for coming here and you
I
tell us-
zapraszamy was, żebyście tu przyszli. And we want you to visit Belgium, visit Polish Canadian War Museum. You can easily find it on Google Maps. Just type the Polish Canadian War Museum, like we did, and you are here. It's fascinating place.
And you tell the young generation, never forget that he fight the Polish division. You understand that?
Nigdy nie zapominajcie, że
not in
tutaj
the books.
walczyła polska dywizja i wyzwoliła te miejsce.
And the book says British Americans here. It's not correct. Here fight the, there's see no books in my museum.
But
here.
on the cloth hall in Yper,
Yeah.
there is a sign
Yeah.
telling that Polish
Division was
General
coming,
Maciek division liberated the
Must-
city
yeah,
too.
yeah. Must you fight? Yeah. See.
Na koniec chciałbym wam pokazać, jak honoruje się tutaj żołnierzy pierwszej dywizji pancernej dowodzonej przez generała Stanisława Maczka. Stworzono tutaj taki pomnik, obelisk w językach niderlandzkim, francuskim, angielskim. And last but not least, przeczytajcie sobie tą inskrypcję. Także pan Gilbert von Landschot prowadzi tutaj znakomitą akcję promocyjną Polski. No, nie dziwimy się, ponieważ Polacy nie dość, że uratowali jego dziadka, to jeszcze wyzwolili pół Belgii, za co później pod naciskiem Stalina Brytyjczycy odebrali Stanisławowi Maczkowi nawet jego zasłużoną emeryturę wojskową, dzięki czemu zmuszony był pracować jako barman w Edynburgu. Jeżeli chcielibyście odwiedzić grób generała Maczka, znajduje się on w miejscowości Breda w Holandii, ponieważ gdy zmarł w wieku 102 lat w roku 1994, kazał się pochować wśród własnych żołnierzy. A jeśli jesteście akurat w Szkocji, to w Edynburgu, tuż przy ulicy Royal Mile, znajduje się pomnik generała Maczka, który siedzi sobie w swoim galowym mundurze na ławeczce. Łatwo to znaleźć, bo to jest obok pomnika Sir Adama Smitha. A teraz ruszamy dalej przez pola Flandrii, pokazać wam następne straszliwe rzezie, tym razem I wojny światowej. Ładnie pachnie jak na wsi, bo jesteśmy na wsi.